It was a record-setting day offensively and defensively for Georgia State football in Louisiana, and the Panthers come back to Atlanta with a 3-game winning streak. We'll talk to head coach Shawn Elliott and running back Kyler Neal. And a little bit later on in the show, we're talking Georgia State baseball with head coach Greg Frady. This week in the Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome into this week's show, the Georgia State Sports Update. We're talking Panther football here with head coach Shawn Elliott in our opening segment. A little later on, we'll talk with running back Kyler Neal. And coach, back from Louisiana, three straight wins on the road, and a great win in Monroe, Louisiana this past Saturday.
Yeah, it was a great win. We went down there and played well both offensively and defensively. Special teams, we can get a little bit better, a lot better, I should say. We'll give up that kick return, but all in all, it was a very, very successful night. Did a lot of good things, and it was a lot of good things to celebrate afterward.
Yeah, it says, mentioned in the open, a record-setting football game for Georgia State on both sides of the football. 670 yards in total offense. I remember we were sitting here last week. The one thing that kind of concerned me a little bit was Louisiana Monroe averaging 50 points in each of their previous 3 games. Yeah. And we came out defensively, played them to a T, and really kind of stifled what they'd been doing. And at the same time, our offense was clicking on all cylinders. Yeah,
our defense really did a good job. I mean, for some reason or another, their quarterback was off, and we were stuffing the run game for the most part. They're a run-first team, and I believe they averaged rush for about 117 yards against us. And then you look at it, we had, I think, 8 or 9 sacks on the evening. So that was a tremendous effort for us defensively. And then you look at us offensively, both running and passing. The big play was there in the passing game. We had big touchdowns in the throw game. Penny Hart had another exceptional game. Connor Manning did well. The offensive line opened up running lanes, and we had numerous backs touch the ball. I believe we had 5 or 6 guys carry the football. So that was something exciting to see.
Well, when we talk about setting a school record with number of sacks that you just mentioned, and sure, it wasn't just one guy, but Martirius Allen had a great football game for Georgia State on Saturday.
Yeah, I kid him a lot. I said the secondary had to play really well for you to get back there in the backfield, but he did. He just, it's about finishing for those guys up front. If you look at us in a pass rusher, we're not the wide 5 techniques, speed rush around the edge a lot of times. So it's a relentless pursuit. I mean, it takes a great effort, and they did an exceptional job. He especially did just continue to push the pocket and getting that quarterback rattled a little bit to step up and step right into his arms.
Another good game, too, for Michael Shaw. He had 1.5 sacks against Monroe, the 22.5 now career tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He's now the career leader in that category, and he's continuing to make his presence known as well as we move along.
Yeah, I talked about setting a standard and doing a lot of firsts around here. You set a record for you offensively, you set a record for sacks. Individually, he goes and he's the leader, all-time career leader for tackles for loss now. And there's so many firsts that we can achieve here, and it's certainly great to see our team come out and try to go grasp those things. I mean, it really is. Penny Hart set the record for 190 yards and receiving yards right there, topped his record again for 11 catches. So we just got to continue to build and keep growing.
47 points, the most points that Georgia State football has scored against an FBS opponent.
Yeah.
And, so it shows a little bit about the production that this team is able to, put together. And again, that's another thing that I was a little worried about. Can we score? If this thing gets into the 40s and the 50s as Monroe had been scoring, can we keep pace? And not only were we able to keep pace, but we set the pace.
Well, I'm glad you were so concerned about all these things. I need to probably talk to you more often. But, we've got to have the big play. And that was something our offensive football team hadn't had. And we start off that first drive, and I mean, it's a perfect, well-thrown ball. Penny makes a great catch, and it's a big play. And then we have another big run on a reverse. We just the big plays is what gets you ramping up that yardage and those points. And for the last, first 4 ball games, we were kind of a methodical offense, you know.
Yeah.
But we got the big plays, and as you can see, you put up the yards, you put up the points with those big plays.
Well, again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, as we've talked about the running game, you know, but how about 224 yards on the ground? I mean, we had 150, 150, 91 the last 3 games. Really ran the ball well on Saturday.
Yeah, we did. I mean, right from the beginning, and we
Yeah.
thought we could run the football. We really did. Nothing elaborate, you know. It was just our same old scheme that we have every single week. But we were staying on blocks. We were communicating really well up front. And we were finishing the plays. And you know, when you look at that stat, I think our longest run was a 20-yard gain by our quarterback. Actually, it was Winchester on a little sweep play. So it was a very consistent running day. It's not like we had an 80-yard run and then the other runs were kind of, you know, just blah. We were 5, 6, 7 all day long. So it was good to see that and see us control the line of scrimmage, because I think one drive I think it was a 15-play, 95-yard drive, and I think it was 12 or 13 of the 15 plays were run. So, you know, it's good to see that kind of stuff.
Connor Manning was on the show a couple of weeks ago. We talked about how do you know when you're in a rhythm, and he explained how he knows when he's in a rhythm. He was in a rhythm on Saturday. His number's 26 of 35, 446 yards. He got a helmet sticker on the 4-letter network.
He did.
He tied the record for touchdown passes.
Yeah, you know, we just got to continue having him do the right things. When I say the right things, making the throws, but managing the game, because he's doing a good job of not throwing it, you know, in troubled areas. Good decisions, and really when he's on, and it's good to see. And he's confident, he's upbeat, just like anybody would be. But he's really been playing at a very, very high level the last few weeks.
Yeah, and when you talk about the running game, it's not just 1 or 2 guys. And again, we're going to talk to Kyler Neal here as the show moves along, but you had 4 or 5 guys that are all taking part in making sure this running game is where you want it to be, and racking up the yards that we need.
Yeah, you know, you got Kyler, you got Glenn, you got Taz, you got Kirk. I mean, there's a lot of backs that are touching the football, and then you have your quarterback runs a little bit off some zone read game, and then Winchester comes in and adds another big run. It's just it's kind of interesting to see how we go about our run game, because as we get our run game established a little bit, we have a ding or a bruise or something causes our back to come out. So we're scrambling over there on the bench. All right, who's next? Who's not hurt? Yeah. And Kyler played with a pulled hamstring. He's not 100%. He can give us the short run, so to speak. And he says, I really can't open up. And I'm like, well, you know, probably can't open it up anyway. You know, but they do a good job of going in there, not being very, very selfish, and doing everything they can for our team. So I'm proud of them. Again,
an often used word, confident, but this team comes back to Atlanta, getting ready for Troy, which we'll talk about in the next segment, the homecoming game. The confidence right now amongst this team is at an all-time high, because they're doing good things and they're doing it the right way.
Anytime you win and you're successful and you do it the right way, you gain confidence. And I tried to warn them a little bit. You know, we certainly after the games, we talk about the good things that goes on. You've got to do that. But you also, in the same sense, you can't get that feeling of, hey, we've arrived or we've done anything like that, because we haven't. So you got to kind of be wary of the patting you on the back, saying how good you've done. And I tell them, I said, it's not about being confident. You got to watch out for the ego that you start to build as people start telling you you're doing good things. So, you know, I told them yesterday, I said we had 2 conference players a week, and Connor Manning got, you know, named on several other award kind of lists. I said that doesn't matter anymore. I said, you're the same people you were before that last game. We got to continue to move forward and be confident, but not let that ego just crush it.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk more with head football coach Sean Elliott as we review the Louisiana-Monroe game and look ahead to Troy right now. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from Louisiana-Monroe this past Saturday night.
Manning will throw, going deeper, Hart, and makes the grab. Penny Hart, touchdown, Georgia State. Wide open, Devin Gentry with plenty of room and still going. Now a foot race, and Gentry's going to take it all the way to the end zone. Blitz coming, and a pitch in the reverse. And with plenty of room to the 5 and to the end zone, Devin Gentry. What would this do for his confidence? He has the distance from 46 yards, and it's good.
Like it was nothing. Really just looking to get home.
To the end zone, Hart, touchdown. And is now at 392 yards passing. And going deep again, another grab, and guess who? Penny Hart, touchdown again.
Moving chains and scoring points, but certainly not at this rate.
Here's Neal, touchdown. The senior from Dallas perhaps has put the game away. A school record 670 yards, 446 through the air. Sean Elliott's Panthers will leave Monroe with a 2-0 mark in Sun Belt Conference play.
Back here on the Georgia State Sports Update, we're talking Panther football with head coach Sean Elliott. And again, a great game on Saturday night. Georgia State puts up 47 on the road at Louisiana Monroe. Coach, one guy that I didn't bring up in the first segment who actually had, I guess we could call it at this point, kind of a breakout game, and that's Devin Gentry. A couple of touchdowns. His first touchdowns.
Scored on a reverse, great play, and then a long run after a catch, and it's good to see him because, you know, Devin, he's got good speed after the catch. I mean, he really does. When he gets going, he's one of our faster guys, and when he caught that one right up our sideline on the other night, I really thought to myself, I said, man, he really does have that speed, and he outraced those defenders. I can't remember how far it was, but yeah, you know, those are the type of things that we've got to continue to build on. I mean, each guy has got to step up. I talked to them all, you know, all week and each and every game. I'm like, who's going to make that play that you're going to remember the rest of life? Right. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be that guy tonight? And 2 weeks ago it was Glenn on that 90-yard kickoff return, and I'm sure Gentry's going to remember the reverse for his first touchdown of the 2017 season. I mean, the rest of his life. So it's all about different guys stepping up and making memories.
Yeah. Again, for Georgia State, they put 47 up on the board. You come back now and a little bit of a stretch run. You got Troy coming in.
Yes.
The first time Georgia State has been here at Georgia State Stadium, it will have been 51 days
yes.
Since August 31 in Tennessee State. And it should be an exciting atmosphere. Troy coming in here. They've kind of been real hot and cold here recently with their win over LSU and then to come home and get beat by South Alabama.
Yeah.
That's going to make for an interesting game.
Well, yeah, I mean, Troy's a well-coached football team. Neil Brown does a great job with them, both offensively and defensively, special teams-wise. Anytime you go into LSU and you beat LSU, then there's something to be said about that. So they're a great football team. There's no doubt about it. When you look at them defensively, they're number one in the league in scoring, total defense. I think they're number one in the country in red zone defense. Yeah. And then they're good offensively as well. They're just a well-coached football team all the way around. We have got our work cut out for us. I mean, when you turn on the tape, you see defensive linemen that look like defensive linemen, and they play like defensive linemen. And their scheme of things are something that you have to sit back and really evaluate and really break down to be right on cue with what you're trying to do. So, yeah, we've got to come out and play well. I told our guys we've got to play well in all three facets this week. Otherwise, we won't get it done. Yeah. So we'll see how we do it.
Kicking game a little bit better at Louisiana Monroe on Saturday?
Well, I mean, when they returned the opening kickoff for the touchdown or the one after we scored, returned it for a touchdown. Right. Yeah, I was furious. I mean, to tell you the truth, that is something that just can't happen. We had 4 or 5 guys right there in the middle to make the tackle, and just I use the term pull the trigger. They didn't let the stinger out. They didn't make the tackle, and they were right there. Yep. And you talk about those things, but until they do it, and I think they had the most return yards they've had in quite a long time. I mean, that number 3 was a great football player, but really disappointed in our coverage skills in that. First extra point would kick it right in the back of or kick it in the head of a defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a great way to start. But then we settle it down. Brandon goes 2 for 2 in his field goals, hits a career-long 46-yarder. Right there before the half. Our punting was solid. Brandon actually had a 71-yard punt. I think we averaged over 40 yards a punt. We covered well in that aspect of the game. So for the most part, you can say it was kind of an up and down night. We still got to improve so much in those areas of the game to be a successful football team. We're just hanging on right there in that area.
All right, well, Troy coming in here, and as we wrap it up, going to see a pretty good running back, Jordan Chun, and Silver's the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, both those guys are really, really good. I mean, they're one of the tops in our conference, I can tell you that. Yeah. Probably if not anywhere. But you just got to go out. You really, I don't worry so much about the personnel as I do about us playing sound assignment football, learning how to make fundamental tackles, rallying to the ball. We're going to have to control those two guys especially, but we've got a defense that likes to play as a team, and as long as they're rallying to the football, we should be okay. And like I always say, don't give up the cheap play. Right. Don't give up the cheap play. Make them go the 7, 8, 9, 10 play drive and have them make the mistake.
All right, Coach, as always, appreciate it. Best of luck in the homecoming game against Troy, and we'll see you at the stadium on Saturday and see you back here next week. Yeah,
it's going to be a great week. I'm just really excited to get back here. It's homecoming week, so I hope everyone has the opportunity to come out and see us play and see the improvements that our football team has made over the last couple of weeks. It's been 51 days, so I would imagine there's a lot of people out there itching to get back here and just being around that environment that we have coming in here Saturday at 2 o'clock. So we need all the support you can get.
All right, I want to thank head football coach Sean Elliott joining us here again this week on the Georgia State Sports Update. Coming up next, we'll talk to running back Kyler Neal.
Your final time now for a little bit of helmet stickers. Joey, as always, lead us off.
A.J. Dillon from Boston College, 272 yards rushing with the 4 touchdowns against Louisville.
Not looking at the paper. Yeah, this is fantastic. DJ Chark, LSU guys, in a comeback win against Auburn was huge. 75-yard punt return score. Also had a career high 150 yards receiving. No pressure on that.
Connor Manning, 446 yards, 4 touchdowns. Georgia State getting a helmet sticker and well-deserved in their nice victory.
Back here in the Georgia State Sports Update. It's homecoming week here at Georgia State as the Troy Trojans come a-calling here to Georgia State Stadium. We talked to head football coach Sean Elliott. Pleased to be joined right now by senior running back Kyler Neal. And Kyler, great to have you on the show. And how about this Georgia State football team right now? 3 wins on the road. Big win at Louisiana Monroe, putting 47 points up on the board. A record-setting day yards-wise for the offense, and you guys riding a lot of confidence right now coming back here where you haven't been in 51 days. I know you're all happy to be back here. We tape the show inside the locker room. Kyler hadn't been in here for 51 days. I know you're glad to be back in here, albeit for the TV show, but Saturday for the game.
Yes, sir. It's been a while, and we've improved a lot this year from our first game. And like you said, we're riding this 3-game winning streak, and we have a lot of confidence right now, but we know our work is not over. We haven't reached our goal. Our goal is to win the Sun Belt Conference, and to do that, we need to beat Troy this weekend.
Yeah, again, when we talk about the running game, Coach Elliott has been emphatic that we're going to be a running team. You go back the first game, 49 yards, then 150, then 150, then 91, and then all of a sudden 224. And it's not just you, but the entire stable of running backs had an outstanding game at Louisiana Monroe, and you can see this running game start to take hold and really improve week after week.
Yes, sir. All of our running backs, we know what we're capable of, and we know that we're good football players, but most of the credit needs to go to the offensive line up front. They've made some really good running lanes for us, so the numbers keep going up as well. But each running back, like I said, we all bring something different to the table, and we've all had success this year, and hopefully we can keep that going.
Yeah, and you and I were talking earlier in the week, and I was telling you, I said, yeah, you're kind of an undersized fullback, but you're a power guy. And in Saturday's game against Louisiana Monroe, because you're not really the kind of running back who runs to the right or the left or tries to go around anybody. You basically try to go through them or just run them over, and you did that a few times. A real power running back for the Panthers.
Yes, sir. I know I'm not going to outrun too many people anymore, especially at this level of football. So I know I have to get downhill, and I know eventually I'm going to wear on a defense, and come the fourth quarter, I know not too many safeties are going to want to tackle me anymore. So I have to let them know I'm just going to keep coming, and it's not going to get any easier for them.
Now, again, we're talking to Kyler Neal here in the Georgia State Sports Update, and I kind of waited a little bit to congratulate Kyler because he went over the 1,000 career-yard rushing mark for his college career here at Georgia State. You were also a 1,000-yard rusher in high school at East Paulding, so congratulations to you on that. You had a great game, obviously, Saturday at Louisiana Monroe, but 1,000 yards is what we kind of use as the pecking order mark there for success, and you've managed that in high school and here at Georgia State, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long ride, especially with injuries and whatnot throughout my career here. But I have to give all the credit once again to the offensive line. They've bought their tails off for me my whole time I've been here, and I'm very thankful for having them up front. It feels great to actually finally get there. Just having my seasons cut short time and time again, and I'm ready, and I'm glad we're having the success we're having right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned stable of backs. Everybody kind of has their specialty. Glenn Smith was initially penciled in as a wideout, receiver, and he comes back and, he kind of runs a certain way. Taz might be the fastest of the group. He runs a certain way. You run a certain way. You and DeMarcus Kirk are probably closest in styles of games because I consider you guys power backs. You just run straight ahead and you run into and over people. But you're right. Everybody kind of has their own specialty and is able to make their own kind of contribution because of the way you run.
Yes, sir. Glenn brings a lot of different stuff to the table. Like you said, he was originally a receiver, but, he played quarterback in high school. So he has the ability to do a lot of different things, and he's shown that on the field, catching the ball out of the backfield, running the football, and it doesn't matter. Glenn can do it all. And, Taz is one of the quickest people, most explosive person I've ever been around. Yeah. And, once you get him out in the open field, I'll put my money on Taz against anybody because Taz is just so quick, and it's really hard to get him on the ground. But yeah, me and Kirk, we're gonna make you feel it when you tackle us, and hopefully, all of us working together create more success.
Yeah. Troy coming in for the homecoming game here at Georgia State Stadium. It really is a different mindset when you come in with a 3-game winning streak as opposed to, struggling like we did last year. Practice is more fun. I mean, game preparation is more fun because, there's success in the program.
Yeah, whenever, you have success, you want to keep it going. And you don't want to change too much, but then again, like I said, our work's not over. So we're still going out there and working every day, and we're not satisfied where we're at. We're still hungry, and we still want to win.
And obviously, it'd be great to send the senior class out with the program's second bowl invitation. So
yes, sir, that's the plan. Want to make sure we end it on a high note.
All right, Kyler, congratulations on reaching the 1,000-yard rushing mark plateau. You did it in high school, did it here at Georgia State, and continued success. We'll be watching, obviously, and appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I want to thank senior running back Kyler Neal joining us here in the Georgia State Sports Update. Panthers and Troy in the homecoming game here at Georgia State Stadium on Saturday. Well, believe it or not, Georgia State baseball is in the midst of fall practice. We'll preview the upcoming season with head baseball coach Greg Frady as we continue here in the Georgia State Sports Update. We're talking Georgia State baseball right now here in the Georgia State Sports Update. If you're not in the Atlanta area, I can tell you the temperatures in the last couple of days have dropped, and it's starting to feel like fall baseball, even though we're right in the middle of the college football season. We're joined right now by Georgia State's head baseball coach Greg Frady. And again, Coach, great to have you here. You guys right in the middle of fall practice. And February will be here before you know it because that's when you'll open up with the Atlanta Challenge the second weekend in February. But how's practice gone to this point? You got a number of new faces, some big names returning as you get ready for season number 12 as head coach for you.
That seems fast, season number 12, just listening to that. But in season number 12, I probably like this team as much as any team we've ever had. This team is led by a lot of returning players with a lot of experience at Georgia State, particularly in our positional players. And when you start talking about that group, you can't help but talk about Justin Jones.
Sure.
A senior now, and I still look at him as like one of the young guys, but he's been a 3-time All-American here in 3 years. It's just been a phenomenal thing to coach him. But then we have so many others that came in his class. It's a strong senior class, and I like how those guys are helped leading our team. I think every year you start out with talent. You've got some talent. Those guys are Division I players. But then it's the intangibles that make a team, leadership, how hard they work. Do they grasp the concept of really working on fundamentals and taking care of the small things? And are they in a place where they can recover? Baseball is a pretty tough game, and there's failure that's involved with baseball, and then how you recover mentally. I think we've been now in the Sun Belt. This is our 5th year in the Sun Belt. This group of players only know the Sun Belt. They don't know anything previous to that. So I think we're seasoned in the Sun Belt. We know what to expect. And so I'm pretty optimistic. When you have a guy like Hunter Gaddis, who has the experience he has and the quality and talent to go out on Friday night, I think it really sets a pace, and it gives us the confidence, I think, going into every series this year to think, hey, we've got a chance to win every series.
Well, a couple of changes in your coaching staff heading into the 2017 season. And the only reason I bring that up is because one of the changes, you had to hire a new pitching coach to work with this pitching staff that right now is looking pretty good. Talk about the new coaches you brought in, and because there's chemistry involved with, obviously, with coaches and players anytime you bring in new faces.
Yeah, and we're still in transition with new coaches. Anytime you have a new coach, a coach doesn't walk on campus, then immediately it all changes. It takes time to develop, like you're saying, relationships and listen to philosophies and how a pitching coach philosophy would work with our traditional philosophy and how we do things. So Josh Davis is our new pitching coach. He comes from the University of Richmond, and for our longtime Panther fans who loves baseball and been a baseball fan, he may remember Josh's father, Jody Davis, catcher for the Braves and the Chicago Cubs for all the years. And Josh is well connected from a baseball family and background, and he's doing a good job. From the beginning, even before Josh got here, and he's been here now probably on the ground really getting after it for about 3 weeks. From the beginning, we had a huge emphasis placed on our pitchers being more athletic, calming down a little bit, working on throwing the ball in the strike zone. We haven't run the radar gun at all this fall. We haven't videoed any pitcher this fall. We just want them to relax and remember to play baseball and play the game that they love from the time that they were small as a young child, and just get back into having more fun, helping them get better results, which is going to lead to our entire team having more success. I really do feel like that the maturity of this team knows what to do. They know what they're going to need to do. They've worked extremely hard, and the play has been tempered by no one getting over the top, but everybody ready all fall long. It's just been a lot of fun, and Josh has joined us, and then Steve Rosen comes on as our new volunteer coach. He was on the staff last year as a GA, and when Brock Bennett accepted the assistant coach's job at the University of Alabama, then I elevated Steve to that role. He's a very hard worker, very bright, intellectual guy. He does a great job in social media to help us. He's a younger coach. I think he relates well to the players, and I think we're structured well. He's doing a good job with our catchers.
All right, lastly, I always like to ask you about the schedule. Last year, a very, very competitive schedule. This year, the Atlanta Challenge, February 16th, 17th, and 18th, Bradley, UConn, and Minnesota will be here. And then from what I can tell, you've got a home series with Ole Miss, but home and home with Georgia, Georgia Tech. You play everybody in state.
Go to Auburn.
And you go to Auburn. And I think this schedule, if not, might be a little bit more competitive than it was last year, if I can say that.
I think it's a great schedule. Let's just stay there. And Allison George and I, our SID, were having this conversation. Are we going to say every year it's the toughest schedule in the history of the school? I mean, at some point that seems to get old, but it's extremely challenging, and it is very, very good. And we have a very good team, Dave. But the reality is we also have a very good schedule. So it's not just going to be about having a good team. We're going to have to play well. We need to stay healthy. We've got some guys injured now, but are on the way to coming back, which is a really optimistic thing. If we can put our health together, play good baseball, keep our confidence going, could be a very, very exciting and very good year for Georgia State baseball.
All right, Coach, great to have you here. February will be here in the Atlanta Challenge before you know it, and look forward to getting out there and watching a little bit of Panther baseball practice out there at Panthersville.
Thank you very much.
All right, I want to thank head baseball coach Greg Frady coming in and joining us here for a few minutes on the Georgia State Sports Update. That'll do it for our show this week. I want to thank head football coach Sean Elliott, of course, running back Kyler Neal, and for Coach Frady, I'm Dave Cohen. Thanks to the entire crew. We'll see you here again next week on the Georgia State Sports Update.